Welcome to Money's Musings, episode 11. And this episode of Money's Musings is all about the Telluride Film Festival. Are you kind of curious about what films are coming out that might have Oscar or Golden Globe considerations? This episode is for you. Enjoy. Alright, let's talk Telluride Film Festival 2021. So I ended up watching quite a few films, 12 films in total. I went to all the noon seminars, and this kind of presentation will kind of guide us through my thoughts, my experiences, and a few photos along the way. And I will also discuss some of the films I did not get to see, but kind of got a lot of buzz here at the festival, in Telluride Film Festival. And spoiler alert, this is not going to be this amazing critical review. I ended up liking most of the films. And also important to note that I am really, really bad at pronouncing names. So apologies in advance on that. So, and then a couple interesting notes. I did not actually purchase an actual pass at the festival, I didn't volunteer. So I did all the free events, and which there's quite a few of them. All the ones at the park, and all the noon seminars and talks. And in a way, I'm kind of glad I didn't get a pass because I wouldn't have gone to all those noon seminars. But what I did ended up doing is what's called After the Film Festival. And that's like the Tuesday after Labor Day. And what they do is they pick 12 films at two different theaters. So 12 different films to choose from, and then so you get to go to 6 of the different shows. And I missed the first slot, but I ended up going to 5 different films. And it's one of those things that this is kind of a benefit for the locals. And so you have to show like proof of residence here that you in order to get this $75 ticket. Oops, wrong way. And so, and also for a lot of the films I'm going to try to do, just so you can kind of get a flavor of the film, is I'm going to show a little bit of a snippet, 30 to 60 second snippet from one of the trailers. Why I'm just showing a snippet is just for a couple reasons. One, just kind of keep this musing rolling along, if you will, a little bit. And also, not sure if YouTube would flag me if I showed the whole trailer. So I'm trying to just show a little bit of it. So jumping right into it, let's start off with one of the powerhouse films of the festival, The Power of Dog. It was adapted by, I guess, Thomas Savage novel and directed by James Campion, and starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Jesse Plemons, and Kirsten Dunst. And it got a lot of buzz. And so I think next up is a little bit of a snippet of a trailer. So here we go. And I'm going to whistle along as well. Power of the Dog. Yeah, talk about a very powerful movie, if you will. And so I enjoyed it. There's a couple things that kind of bugged me a little bit on it. One of the things, it was supposed to be in Montana. The setting is Montana in the 1920s, but it was filmed in, I guess, Australia, New Zealand, and I think I've been to these areas in New Zealand where it was filmed, and it didn't. I don't know. It just didn't quite feel like Montana to me, but maybe I'm just making this up in my head. But that's just one of the things that kind of bugged me a little bit. And the other thing was, it was one of these films that was what I call a slow drip reveal. It just, like, every once in a while, Jane would just give you a little bit of a nugget of how all the pieces fit together. And it just, like, in a way, it kind of makes it overly slow sometimes, but watching this trailer, I definitely would watch it again. And would I recommend it? For sure. It's a strong yes on that one. It's definitely an adult film, not suitable for kids. And because one reason, there's a lot of booty shots of Benedict taking baths in the rivers and whatnot. But maybe that's right for kids. Who knows? But this one is going to get make a lot of noise during award season. So if you get a chance to see this in the theater or streams or whatnot, it's a good film. Okay, so moving on to Bergman Island, directed by Mia Hansen-Løve, I guess. I didn't really recognize the actors, but I thought they did a really good job. And I think next up is a little bit of a trailer snippet on this one.
At the age of 42, Bergman had directed 25 films. How do you think he would have done that if he was also changing diapers?
How's your thing going?
Pretty good, actually.
What's it about?
It's about how invisible things circulate within a couple.
Can I tell you about what I'm writing?
Yeah.
So, yeah, first off, I really did enjoy this film. It kind of had kind of a meta feel to it. I mean, the island was named after a director. It was about directors and a director's story with all the characters interwoven. It was a fun and interesting film. Would I recommend it? It might be kind of silly for some and interesting for others, but overall, it was a solid yes. Right? I definitely enjoyed it and would recommend it for most people, or for most adults. It was definitely had some adult themes in it. Okay, moving on to Come On, Come On. This was directed by Mike Mills and starring Joaquin Phoenix, and an amazing performance by this 11, 12-year-old kid named Woody Norman, who's going to, I predict, is going to get definitely get nominated, I think, for supporting actor, because he did a really amazing job. So I think coming up is a little bit. Oh, first off is the writer-director was in person. And I think I posted on social media, it's like, I was wondering what was going on in his head. And it's the film is very creative and introspective, and he kind of has that looking off in the distance kind of feel to him. So, one last thing. There's one of the actors in the Muhammad Ali Ken Burns documentary came up to me and said I looked like Joaquin. He said I looked like Joaquin Phoenix. I don't know. I had some other people confirm that. Maybe not. He also, Joaquin had to gain like a bunch of weight, so maybe people just calling me fat. I don't know. But here is a little bit of a snippet from this film.
To visit planet Earth, you will have to be born as a human child. At first, you'll have to learn to use your new body, to move your arms and legs. You will learn to walk and run, to use your hands, to to make sounds and form words. There will be so much for you to learn and so much for you to feel.
Oops. Yeah, this one, if a couple things. One, it was shot in black and white, and it was really beautiful to see all the different landscapes between the oceans, the cityscapes to Louisiana, and the indoor shots. It was it was eye candy for me for sure. And anyone that's been around children will relate to this. I think I said insightful and different conversations that kids bring up. Would I recommend it? Yes. Strong yes. I felt like I was a better person for watching this film, and I learned a lot, kind of from a kid's perspective. And I think it, I don't know, maybe it would be empowering for kids, older kids, to watch this. I don't know. This is one of my favorite films of the festival. Come on. All right, so on to Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And this is a little bit of a backstory. Was Dean Fletcher Camp made these 3 short videos they put up on YouTube back like 10 years ago, and then they got like millions of views. And this is he kind of interwove those short films into a feature film. And let me just what I'm going to show you next is, I think, kind of a snippet from one of those short films that he put up 10 years ago. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I'm gonna bust up.
My name is Marcel. Oh no, that's not the first time I've done that. My name is Marcel, and I'm partially a shell, as you can see on my body, but I also have shoes and a face, so I like that about myself, and I like myself, and I have a lot of other good qualities as well. I know how it looks in here, but it's not always so messy, but I didn't know that you were going to have a camera, and I wish that you had said that you were going to be here today, because I didn't clean up. I invited some friends from upstate to come and eat salad, so that's just how it looks right now. Guess what I wear as a hat? A lentil. One time I nibbled on a piece of cheese and my cholesterol went up to 900. Guess what I used to tie my skis to my car? What? A hair. Guess.
Oops. So, yeah, if I had to actually buy one film of this whole film festival, like I wanted to watch over and over and over, this is it. It was an amazing stop out animation film that it's so creative, and I don't remember this YouTube sensation back in the day, but I'm so glad that Marcel was born and created, and it's just it's just the little bit of the snippets, the little bit of nuggets that Marcel says are just really makes you think, and so creative, and it's a little bit of a mockumentary, and I kind of have an interest in that for one of the projects I may be working on. But yeah, it's silly and fun, and it's easily one of my favorite films of the festival, and I wasn't expecting it to be it, but great if you get a chance to see it. Okay, moving on. Okay, Julia. Julia was directed by Betsy West and Julie Cohen, about Julie Child. Before I get into that, Betsy West and Julie Cohen spoke about the film here. It was interesting to hear them talk. Here's a little bit of a trailer on it.
When you cook, you give your love. God knows it's a love affair with Paul.
Julia's advice for a good marriage was the 3 F's. Feed your man, flatter your man, and you had to your man.
Julia Child presents the Chicken Sisters.
They were sort of easing her out. She said, forget it, I'm done. And she quit.
Julia was a dynamic force that would not be silenced.
Darling, we're going to have so much fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun watching this film. And it just it was like, did you know that Julia was like 6'5" She was like a very tall woman. And I think I'd say, well, delightful and delicious film. Yeah, I actually made the mistake of going to this film without eating. That was a little bit of a mistake. But she was such a force of nature, and she really helped define public broadcasting and got a lot of additional viewership and stuff. And but the film didn't feel that much like a documentary. It was kind of a it kept going, and it was interesting and fun and exciting, and she was interesting, very interesting person. So if you get a chance to see this, yes, for sure. It kind of had a feel like when Won't You Be My Neighbor, that film about Fred Rogers. It kind of had that same kind of, you kind of left with happy and sad and just like inspired by it. I think I said you don't probably need to see it on the big screen, but yeah, it was delicious, and so recommend it. All right, moving on to Becoming Christo. And this film I saw in the park. I didn't have a trailer on this one, but if you've ever dove, it could be kind of interesting to you, because when he first started this, none of this stuff was invented, and he was quite the true visionary, if you will, to borrow the words on the blurb here, and also a lot of some of his initial projects were not good for the planet, and later in life he did become a very environmental and influential, and I guess he was named Captain Planet. Would I recommend it? Yeah. If you have an interest in the subject, for sure. My friend's kids, I guess, fell asleep during it. So it doesn't. It's a documentary, and it wasn't as fast paced as like Julia, and it kind of was a deep dive, pun intended, if you will, into this film. So all right. So let's moving on to El Gran Fellow. This was directed and written by Matt Dillon, of all people. And the next photo, he was in person, and I enjoyed his talk. And it's kind of crazy to see, Matt Dillon, right? And he has this huge passion for Cuban jazz, and so that's when he had a chance to do a film on Fellow. He did do this, and one of the interesting parts of this story was, I guess, Fellow he was a big deal back in when he was in Cuba, and then he kind of migrated to Mexico, and then he was kind of forgotten, and but he was inspirational in what's the Cuban scat singing. It was fun to listen to and kind of groove on, and it was also interesting. It was a sad, interesting story about someone that used to be a big deal, then it was kind of forgotten, and how he was going to make one last album. And one whether or not it was staged or not, it was he didn't recognize Matt Dillon, and like he was mostly working with the producer to make this film. It's like, it's like, what's Matt Dillon doing again? He didn't call my name. So it's interesting that not everyone knows Matt Dillon. Imagine that. All right, let's go. Would I recommend it? Yeah, if you're interested in jazz or Cuban jazz, for sure, I would recommend it. It's a documentary, and it may not be for everyone. So, but I definitely enjoyed it. All right, next one, Torn, directed by Max Lowe. And he was in person, talking, and then all the other subjects of the film, between Max and his mom, Jennifer, and Conrad, and Isaac and Sam. And if you don't know who, oops, sorry, my timer's going off. Alex Lowe was one of the most famous mountain climbers in the world, but this story is less, and he ended up dying in an avalanche in the Himalayas, and his body was buried, and then his climbing partner was Conrad. Conrad Anker has a lot of films of mountain film, but yeah, this film was less about the climbing, and it was more about the family death and how in 17 years later, his body was discovered, uncovered, and they went up and recovered it, and they kind of all, in different ways, moved on with their lives, and interesting dynamics were, in a way, it was kind of a love story. It was a family, a lot of questions in it, a little bit of a tearjerker, but yeah, would I recommend it? Yeah, if you, I watch a lot of mountain films, and so I'm very familiar with this kind of genre, if you will, especially with a lot of Conrad Anker films, kind of big mountain, big expedition kind of drama kind of films. But like I said, this film wasn't really like that. It was more about the family. But if you never really understand about why mountain climbers climb and risk their lives, the story might be kind of lost on you a little bit. But I definitely enjoy it, and I would recommend it to anyone that has any history with mountain climbing or knows Alex. And it was actually shown in the park, which is it was supposed to be shown last year, but with the pandemic, they waited till this year, and it was the perfect setting with the Box Canyon and Telluride and outside and elements, and yeah. All right, moving on to The Hand of God. I knew very little about this film coming into it. It just was one of those time slots, and let's look at a little bit of a snippet from the trailer.
La realtà è scadente.
As you can see, it's subtitles in Italian.
Ma è mai possibile che questa città non ti fa in mente niente da raccontare?
Ed era bellissima.
All right, so thoughts on this film. It's first off, if when you see the film and this photo here of what everyone's kind of looking at, it's pretty hilarious what they're looking at. But it's a little bit of a spoiler, so I won't give that away. And it's definitely has subtitles. So, and then I stole this or quoted this from IMDb. The story of a boy in tumultuous Naples of the 1980s, Sorrentino's most personal film yet, is a tale of fate and family and sports and cinema, love and loss. And that's a really good description of it. Would I recommend it? Yeah, this one really ranked up there for up in the my one of my favorite films. It is subtitled, so you have to be kind of engaged, and so not everyone likes those kind of films. So keep that in mind. But I kind of came away inspired, and I'm not sure why. I mean, it was kind of, and yeah, it was one of these films I did enjoy, and I'm pretty confident it's going to get some award buzz for foreign films. So yeah, if you get a chance to see Hand of God, and the reference is Diego Maradona, and it was a kind of as kind of mentioned in the IMDb, it was a little bit based off of his own personal life and tragedy on that. And moving on to Bernstein's Wall. It was directed by Douglas Turola. And this is a documentary about Leonard Bernstein. And I don't have a trailer snippet on this one, but I didn't really know much about him, Leonard Bernstein, but this is one of those films I came away from it very like more cultured, and it was the even though it was a documentary, it was well done, and yeah, would I recommend it? It's if documentaries are not your thing, then probably not. But if they are, this is a good one. And history buffs, I guess, will enjoy it. Mississippi Masala. This is a film that. So a little bit of background. My friends didn't want to go all the way to Town Park, so we watched this movie in Elks Park, which is around the corner from my office. I initially had wanted to go see The Rescue, but we ended up watching this film. This was done in 1991, and it was a little bit of a throwback on that. Would I recommend it? Yeah. If you're interested in seeing a young Denzel, it wasn't one of my favorite films of the festival, but if it's on, yeah, it's a good watch. All right, let's move on to the films that I did not get to see, but it got a lot of buzz here at the festival. And the first one I'm going to start off with Belfast. This one is written by writer-director Kenneth Branagh, and it got and starring like Judi Dench and Jamie Dornan and Catalina, whatever her name is. I'm sorry, Catalina. Both Kenneth and Jamie were in person. It was interesting. Both spoke with very deep Irish accents. Jamie, if you not know who he is, he was in the 50 Shades of Grey films. And so I think next up is a little bit of a snippet of a trailer.
We all have a story to tell. But what makes each one different is not how the story ends, but rather a place where it begins. Holy God.
Mama says if we went across the water, they wouldn't understand the way we talk.
If they can't understand you, then they're not listening.
So another one that was shot in black and white. I guess I didn't see it, but is kind of started in color, and I loved that quote. And the reason why I took that snippet out of that trailer is because I love that quote. We all have a story to tell, but what makes each one different is not how the story ends, but rather the place where it begins. And I just really enjoy that quote. Yeah, this is, oh gosh, this is probably one of the films that I definitely will pay money to see. So I'm excited, and again, a lot of my friends thought this was their favorite film. So, Belfast. All right, so The Rescue. This is the one that I mentioned that I didn't see because I went to the other park. Some of my favorite directors, Elizabeth and Jimmy, they were here in person. Elizabeth, and I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name, but she just spoke really eloquently about the film, and Jimmy Chin is one of my favorite photographers, and I'm a super fan of watching him. As mentioned, this is one of my regrets I didn't get to see it, and my friends kind of teased me about these are my favorite directors, and I ended up not watching it. It's the film premise is about when those 13 teenage Thai kids were stuck in a cave, and what Elizabeth talked about is they had unseen footage about like with the Thai seal footage and all, and really what it came down to is a group of shy Englishmen practitioners of the obscure murky spot of cave diving. So again, another one of these films I definitely will pay money to see. All right, on to Bitter Brush. What's interesting about this film, it didn't really wasn't on my radar, but I ended up just having beers with Coley, one of the subjects of the two women in that film, and she was a really interesting person. We didn't agree totally on everything, but given that, I just for the conversations, I'm kind of intrigued to watch it. So if it comes up, I will definitely kind of watch it. And onto Spencer, and this one's with Kristen Stewart, a film about Princess Diana. Here's a little bit of clip from that
They're
movie.
waiting for you.
They know everything.
They know everything.
They don't.
They don't. Kristen Stewart was in person, and she's a really interesting, kind of raw, kind of person. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know. I mean, Princess Diana, your royalty films are not really kind of something I get into, but yeah, I would definitely go see this movie for sure. Okay, King Richard. This was another one, kind of a little bit of buzz in town. This one is starring Will Smith, and I think up next is a little bit of a snippet of a trailer.
Check on the kids. Let's check on the kids. We got future doctors and lawyers, plus a couple tennis stars in this house.
The chances of achieving the kind of success that you're talking about is just very, very unlikely.
Okay, you're making a mistake, but I'm gonna let you make it. Watch me hit a few balls. All right. So tell me your names again.
I'm Venus. I'm Serena.
So what'd you think?
Go Venus and Serena. Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in the story. And yeah, I would. It looks fun and exciting, and how they grew up in Compton, And yeah, I'm definitely excited about seeing this film. And it looks like Will Smith will probably get some award nods as well. All right, so that's kind of a wrap on the films that I saw, the films I didn't see, that we're interested in. And so that kind of concludes this Monday's Musings, and I will see you next Monday. Cheers. Bye.